I'm Gina Marie and welcome to Sacred Spaces. We're here today at Prahran High with the principal, the lovely Nathan Chisholm. Hi Nathan.
Hi Gina, how are you? Welcome to Prahran High School.
Thank you very much.
It's great to have you here.
Thank you. So tell us, how long's the school been here?
Sure, so Prahran High School has existed as a school since January this year. So it's still very new. So we're 8 months into the journey, but we've been a school since January, yeah. So the design process has actually gone on for a couple of years, of course, before that, leading up to but the official opening was in January. So it's a new, exciting, this is a really unique place in Melbourne. For a school like this in inner city Melbourne is quite new for us. So it's exciting. We're excited to show you today. Welcome.
Great. Let's
have a look. Come with me. Sure. Welcome, Gina. So here we are. So as we start to come into the school, you can see the libraries on our right, and you'll see as we walk into the school that different levels are connected by these beautiful timber bleachers and stairs that you'll see a bit more of as we walk through. And for us, our school values are really important. So the values that drive us, and there's little pointers that you'll see around the school about what matters to us, and that's about students learning to be curious, creative, accept a challenge and be of good character. So we talk about those things. So the building's a big part of our school, but then our values are really important to us, and they're the things that really drive us. And then when you come in here, and the light in the building opens out into this beautiful central atrium.
Yep.
And from here we'll have a look around and go up and down into different spaces, and you'll get a really nice sense of what we're about.
It's incredible. So we're sitting here now with Stephen Turner, the architect who designed this amazing building from grey Pakistan. Hi Stephen.
Hi Gina.
What are you going to tell us about this amazing space?
Oh well, look, thank you very much for inviting us along to talk about this project. It's a very exciting project for us. Really, one of the hardest things was we had a very small site, one of the smallest sites of a school of this type built. And so that led us to the challenge of how do we create a beautiful, exciting school on a site like this. And I think one thing I noticed, whenever people walk into this project, they look up. There's this amazing void filled with natural daylight. It's just a tremendous uplifting sort of space. We sort of referred to it in the design process as being a gallery for education, putting education on the show so that you could see movement, you could see the students doing different activities. And also what you'll notice as we walk through the building is there's a series of bleachers and stairs that actually take you all the way up through the building, really activating those spaces and encouraging movement. So part of that is also about health and well-being. We wanted people to really, the students, the staff, whoever comes to this building, to be invited up and to the opportunity that comes about as you move through the building.
And Nathan, what do you love about this space?
Oh, there's so much that I love about the space, and I think, to echo what Stephen said as well, for us one of the things that's really special about the space is the light, and the light and the airiness of the building. And one of the things that for the community to move into a building like this, which is so unique in Melbourne, one of the sort of concerns that people had in the first instance was about what would it be like being inside so often. And I think you can see that today. So while we're inside right now, the light's just beautiful, and we can see out through glass at sort of each way we look. So for me, that's one of the really nicest things about the space. So, and it's certainly something that for our students in the community, they've responded to really nicely as well.
Well, it's relaxing here, Stephen. What goes on in this space?
Yes, this is one of my favourite spots in the entire building actually. What you're sitting on here is some bleachers that actually cascade down into a sort of performing arts sort of area. In fact, there's a little bit of music practice going on as we speak at the moment. But what you'll notice is the acoustics in this whole space perform so well that we can be having this conversation. There's not a lot of noise emanating from that space, and that's really important to make all of these different activated areas in the school work seamlessly together. And we're in the entire void space as well. So yes, we can have all of the different wonderful things that can happen in a school happening in this internal environment. And you'll also notice the sort of sense of light that's coming in through this space as well. We're getting this is late morning, I guess, and there's just this beautiful sense of light coming into the space. And I think that's really important from the point of view of the children knowing what time of day it is and just sort of that, how the day evolves and what they're doing in the space. So yeah, it's just a really lovely part of the building, I think.
And what do you like about this space, Nathan?
For us, this is a real meeting point for the school. So at lunchtime, doing what you're doing now, and actually just sitting down and relaxing. So at different points of the day, students will be here, and in quite an adult way, I guess, in actually just sitting here and having lunch, and or plugging their devices in here. There's PowerPoints around here. But for us, this bleacher is also a meeting point for assemblies and things like that. So when we're together, when we start the day with the whole cohort, we meet here. And again, in terms of the acoustics, I can have 200 people in here, or 200 adults in here, and you know, for talking or performances and things like that. And the acoustics have worked really well. So that's been a really, design-wise, is a really strong feature of the building. But for us, this as a meeting point for the school is really important, and it's working really nicely. So, and again, it's good to see, again, like what you're doing now, is exactly how students might use the space in their break during the day. So quite different to when they're outside in different parts of the school, but yeah, it's working really nicely.
And it looks gorgeous too.
Yeah, it's fantastic. The timber's beautiful.
So where are we now, Stephen? What part of the building is this?
Well, actually, we're on the northern end of the building, and we're walking past one of the external decks. These decks actually happen on each of the level, giving that really nice inside-outside connection with the space. But when we walk into this area here, we're actually now into a really activated zone. So we're connected not only to the outside area, we're connected to a science space, a co-lab, and even a presentation area. So this allows the building to work in really many different ways for the educators and the students, and they've got that sort of proximity to all of that activated and purposeful space as we look around this area here.
So tell us, what do you mean by activated spaces?
Yeah, what I really mean by that is that a space like this is activated by the adjacent spaces. So what we've got over here is a science area or a specialist area, and on this side over here we've got a co-lab, so that can be used for other functions. Maybe even a maths teacher might work there and collaborate with a physics teacher or something like that. And in the middle of all of this space is again these bleachers and stairs that actually have that activation of presentation. So if they've been doing a project or something like that together, they can bring that out here and demonstrate it and talk about it. And it all happens naturally in this one area.
So like a community gathering goes on.
Very much so, yeah.
Fabulous. I'm here with Sarah Slattery from Slattery Australia, and Sarah's in charge of the costs. How do you go with the budget?
Good question. Look, we had a great result. It was achieved within budget and also within time. I think we managed to get all the tender options in, which is a really good result, and we had 4% of the contract cost in variations. So I think, and that's really good for what we had was a fully documented lump sum project. I think the reasons we achieved that was probably two things. Firstly, really good documentation from all the design consultants, so that's important. And the second one was a really collaborative approach with coming up with solutions when we faced difficulties, which there were a number of challenges. So it was a really good result. And that was from the builder, the subcontractors, the client, and the design team as a whole.
And so what was your proudest moment in getting that budget right in time? What was the biggest aspect of that?
I think one of the biggest drivers of the cost is the facade, and this facade works really hard. So we looked at a number of options with the design team to make sure we were getting a good balance of capital cost and recurrent. As quantity surveyors, we're really focused not just on capital but on the life cycle of the building, and that's really important for the school in terms of energy costs and how they're operating the building. So the facade behind us actually is a good example of being able to let the light in, which obviously all the things that Stephen talks about in terms of learning outcomes, but also minimising heat gain for the building. So there's, you know, the metal perforations create both of those, that balance, which is a great outcome for us and for the school.
I'm here with Carla, who's a recent graduate, and she's with Gray Paxson. Carla, tell us, what do you find special about this project?
Well, I guess, it's been a really great opportunity to work on such a large project, and one that's been so significant just to the education in Victoria. But what's really special to me about this project is just how different it is and how much they're embracing this new type of learning, that it's all about the different students, it's about how they learn. It's not just about a group and how to approach that. It's no longer 4 walls in a classroom, but it's so much more. It's about creating different spaces. I remember in high school from just 7 years ago, how different it is being in completely different buildings, all spread out throughout a big site, and you wouldn't even know what is happening in one of those buildings. You wouldn't know what classes are being offered because you're in all different spaces. So unless you actually went to the arts building, would you know these things that are going on, Viscom and things like that, just subjects that might not be as dominant as maths and English, the things that you always talk about. And so what's great about Prahran is that everything, as you can see, it's all connected. You can actually see what's happening. One of these spaces like we're in now, these studios, are actually coming out into the atrium so that things like art and science are really celebrated, and those learning environments are actually really dominant and really there. And it's all about, I guess, creating all the different learning spaces, like the bleachers that we have that connect all the different levels. It's not just about creating movement through the building, but it's actually about creating a space that can help teach, help teaching and help learning and help students to be able to learn, I guess, in the ways that suit them best.
And you could wave at your friends that weren't in your class too.
Yeah, exactly. There's that connection, the visual connection between all the different levels. Even just now watching some of the students going up and down the bleachers and sticking, their arms over and saying and waving at each other, like it's just, it's really fun, and it's really cool to see that that connection is really happening and that's dominant, and that's exciting because even coming on in the later stages of the projects, they're not actually knowing what the design intent was from the beginning, but seeing it now and just seeing how the kids are using the space, that they really got that sense of connection and the sense of, this is a gallery of opportunity. These are all the different things that are happening in the school, and you get to see it. Like it's not in different buildings. It's all here. It's this atrium. It's these different spaces, and it just creates a real good sense of connection. Yeah.
So Stephen, we're in a full-size gym. Tell us about that.
Yeah, look, this is a great surprise when you finally get to the roof of this this project. You wouldn't expect to find a full-size netball gym up here in some ways. And as you can see, they're really using this space effectively for active sports, team sports. There's great big doors at the very end of this, which you may be able to see, which open up and allows them to actually create a running track. So from inside all the way out onto the roof from the outside. So it's just a wonderful space, and it really promotes, again, that health and well-being, and just an added dimension to what is a very small site, but you still get a full-size netball stadium.
It's massive. How did you get it all into the budget?
Well, it was challenging because essentially we're building a commercial building on a school budget, and the commercial building, with vertical circulation, these kind of activity areas up in the air, mechanical services throughout. So it was a challenge, but I think the way the design team addressed it, and Stephen can probably talk to this more, was the vertical circulation, and all of these spaces have many uses and are really purposeful. And also the vertical circulation works in a commercial way in terms of being able to get community use after hours, and being able to work for the school in many, many ways.
So Stephen, how can this space be utilised by the community after hours?
Yeah, it's a really important aspect of the project actually, because we did consider having the gym on the ground floor, so it'd be much more sort of obvious space to put it if you want after hours use. But as Sarah was saying, it is sort of a commercial building, and with the vertical circulation and the way we've allowed for private spaces and public spaces to connect vertically through the building, we can actually create an entry on the ground floor that gets you up to this upper level as a secure area, so it can be used on the weekend. So it just adds that extra dimension to the possibilities that this school in Prahran can offer.
That's great. Come and shoot a few hoops on the weekend.
That's
Sounds
right.
Great.
Absolutely.
This show is called Sacred Spaces, and as tradition, we ask our guests which part of the building is their sacred space. So we'll start with Nathan. What's your favourite?
Gina, for me, my favourite space is the atrium where you and I started today, because it's bright and light. It's the first thing you notice when you walk into the school, and also I love that it's a sort of a soaring space. So for me, it's a really it's a beautiful meeting point for the school, but it's a really positive forward step into the future, and that for me is what I think about each time I go in there. For me, it's a sacred space.
Oh, gorgeous. And what's your sacred space?
Well, for me, it's a number of spaces, not just the one, and it's all the sort of informal learning areas, the bleachers, the outdoor terraces, and the reason for that is that they're normally just circulation space, but in this building they're purposeful and provide function. So, yeah, from a cost planner's point of view, that's a really good outcome.
Very good. Stephen, what's your sacred space?
Well, I guess for me, my favourite space is really the front entry in some ways. It's the facade of the building. It's interesting, when we were workshopping the design, we actually had some students involved in the sort of ideas of the school, that sort of thing. And one of the students said, "Oh, it looks a bit like a university." I'm thinking, "Oh, gee, is that it?" And then, "Oh, we love it." They're really looking forward to going to a great big, wonderful school. And it's really important that this school presents itself as a proud civic contribution to Prahran here, and I think it really starts to activate the street in that way.
Gorgeous. And your sacred space, Cara?
I'd actually say it's the space that we're in right now. I think this outdoor space, it's really beautiful. It creates a space where the kids can come and relax, just kind of get out of, be away from all the learning and everything, but actually just spend time together. And it's a bit of a surprise, because you wouldn't expect a space like this to be on such a tight little site in the middle of the city. We're in an inner city school, and we've got a rooftop, beautiful space for the children to kind of spend time. So I think that's really beautiful.
Gorgeous. Thanks very much. You've been watching Sacred Spaces. My name's Gina Marie. See you next time.